जय हिंद एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू एवीकेएस एकेडमी। मैं नवीन शोकन एक बार फिर से स्वागत करता हूं एवीकेएस इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे। वी आर डूइंग पेपर वन फ्री सीरीज, द क्रैश कोर्स फॉर द पेपर वन एंड द पेपर टू। इन दिस क्रैश कोर्स दिस इज द इंपॉर्टेंट वीडियो फॉर द डिफेंस एंड द टेक्नोलॉजिकल पार्ट। लास्ट कुछ ईयर से आप देखेंगे कि डिफेंस से रिलेटेड 3 से 4 क्वेश्चन आपके एग्जाम में आते हैं और टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड 3-4 क्वेश्चन आते हैं। मींस ओवरऑल 6 से 7 क्वेश्चन डिफेंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के बेस पे आपको देखने को मिलते हैं। इसमें कोई चीज जो न्यूज में रहती है उसका स्टैटिक पार्ट आपके एग्जाम में पूछा जाता है। इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द पेपर वन, इसमें चाहे आपकी मिलिट्री एक्सरसाइजेस है या वेपन्स हैं, इसके अलावा बायोटेक्नोलॉजी से क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है या 2 क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं। समटाइम्स इसमें आरएनए, डीएनए इन सब पे फोकस रहता है या टाइप्स ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी पे फोकस रहता है। इसके अलावा समटाइम्स नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी पे फोकस रहता है। और कभी कभी आप देखेंगे 2023 के जब आप पीवाईक्यूज लगाएंगे, 2024 का पीवाईक्यू लगाएंगे, यू विल गेट द आइडिया कि कंप्यूटर बेस्ड भी 2-3 क्वेश्चन अब आपके एग्जाम में आने वाले हैं। तो ये वीडियो इन सारे एस्पेक्ट्स को कवर करेगी। एंड यस्टरडे in our video we discussed about the 75 hard days challenge और आपने उस चैलेंज को एक्सेप्ट किया था। कमेंट सेक्शन में मुझे चाहिए कि सर वीडियो कंप्लीटेड, नेक्स्ट वीडियो किस बारे में चाहिए, कमेंट सेक्शन में आप बताइएगा। जल्दी उस पर वीडियो लेके आएंगे। पेपर वन टू की भी सीरीज चल रही है और पेपर वन की इस सीरीज को आपको और हमें मिलकर सक्सेसफुल बनाना है। इसके अलावा अगर आप हमारे साथ तैयारी करना चाहते हैं, हमारे बैचेस में तैयारी करना चाहते हैं, वो ऑप्शन भी अवेलेबल है। रिसेंट में अभी लक्ष्य 2 बैच लॉन्च हुआ है जो कि पेपर 2 का डेडिकेटेड बैच है, जिसमें कंप्लीट क्लासेस हैं। पेपर 2 की जीरो से ये बैच स्टार्ट होगा एंड दिस इज द फाइनल बैच फॉर 2025 एग्जाम। ये ऑफलाइन भी अवेलेबल है, ऑनलाइन भी अवेलेबल है। देयर विल बी 4 फैकल्टी विच विल टीच यू रिगार्डिंग दिस। इसमें एक्स विनय इंग्लिश सर है, मैं हूं, गौरव सर है, शशांक सर है। ये सारे आपको पेपर 2 के लिए तैयार करेंगे, चाहे आपका एसए, आर्गुमेंट, रिपोर्ट राइटिंग, ग्रामर, पीसी कॉम्प्रिहेंशन, कोई भी कंपोनेंट हो। इट इंक्लूड्स योर पेपर वन, पेपर 2 टेस्ट सीरीज पार्ट, योर मेंटरशिप पार्ट, योर स्टडी मटेरियल एंड आफ्टर एग्जाम गाइडेंस ऑल्सो। और दिस इज द हाई टाइम कि हमको टेस्ट लगाने हैं, पीवाईक्यूज करने हैं। तो एक पीवाईक्यू पीडीएफ भी इसमें इंक्लूड है। टेस्ट सीरीज, केवल टेस्ट सीरीज आप ऑप्ट करना चाहते हैं तो उसके लिए ऑप्शन भी अवेलेबल है। तो प्रतिभा टेस्ट सीरीज देयर, गिवन नंबर पे आप कॉल कर सकते हैं। अगर आपको केवल हमसे बस गाइडेंस चाहिए, असिस्टेंस चाहिए, तो आप अकेडमी विजिट कर सकते हैं, मेंटोर से बात कर सकते हैं। उस चीज का कोई पैसा नहीं है, कोई चार्ज नहीं है। आई होप द मैसेज इज वेरी क्लियर। और अब मुझे आपकी तरफ से एक स्ट्रॉन्ग रिस्पॉन्स चाहिए कि सर मुझे नेक्स्ट वीडियो इस टॉपिक पे चाहिए या इस सब्जेक्ट की चाहिए। वी विल प्रोवाइड दैट वीडियो। चलिए वीडियो को स्टार्ट करते हैं, मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। जय हिंद।
We are going to start with a important issue that is on defense technology. So often you have question regarding defense technology. In defense technology, let us start with the first thing, that is the missiles. So basically the modern warfare has been changed a lot due to emergence of missiles. Now when you go into the missiles, you can classify missile depending on different parameters. Depending on certain parameter, we can classify the missiles. The first classification is based on their trajectory. Based on that trajectory, we can divide the missiles into 2 types. Based on the trajectory, you can divide the missile into 2 types. One is cruise trajectory, and another is ballistic trajectory. We can divide them into 2 types. One is cruise trajectory, another is ballistic trajectory. So those missiles which are having a cruise trajectory are called cruise missile, and those having a ballistic trajectory means the missile goes out of the Earth atmosphere, re-enter the Earth atmosphere, and then it strikes the ground. Whereas in case of cruise missile remains inside the Earth atmosphere, and it sustains, a cruise missile sustains its path. The cruise missile sustains its path with the help of the aerodynamic lift. See, inside the Earth atmosphere you have air. So it is similar to a jet engine. A cruise missile is an unmanned, self-propelled guided vehicle that sustains flight through aerodynamic lift. So primarily it is getting the lift inside the Earth atmosphere. It is not moving out of the Earth atmosphere. They fly within the Earth atmosphere and use jet engine technology. So in case of jet engine use fuel and they get oxygen from the air. So then burning takes place inside the engine and then the hot gas is ejected. That is there. So in case of cruise missile, it follows the cruise trajectory. The cruise trajectory lies within the Earth atmosphere, similar to the jet engine technology. One of the classical example is your BrahMos. You have different variant of BrahMos, land launch BrahMos system. Then certain BrahMos have been modified for launch from ships. Then you also have air launch version of BrahMos missile. So BrahMos is made up of two words, Brahmaputra and Moskova. BrahMos is made up of two words, Brahmaputra and two rivers, Brahmaputra that is of India and Moskova of Russia. So basically it was developed in joint venture. Since earlier you had certain restriction based on missile technology control regime, there is a regime, international regime called MTCR. So the range was, it restricts the range of such missile developed in joint venture to 300 km. That is why the range was 290 km. Now you have different variants of your BrahMos, extended range up to 450 km, even long range BrahMos are being developed. So just take a look over here. You have different versions of BrahMos. Ship-based weapon complex, land-based weapon, air launch version, different type of BrahMos system have come into picture. Uh, uh, the Russians have their own variants, Iskander and other missile which are being used in the recently in the Ukraine war. Then another famous cruise missile is Tomahawk cruise missile. This was used extensively during the Gulf War. So the Tomahawk cruise missile have been developed by the Americans. Many of the European Union, the NATO countries also use this cruise missile, Tomahawk cruise missile. So that can be launched from submarines and ships. The American have been using it. Now we talked about cruise missile and ballistic missiles. So ballistic missile move out of the Earth atmosphere, then re-enter the Earth atmosphere, and then they hit a target. Ballistic missiles have a longer range as compared to the cruise missile. A ballistic missile has a ballistic trajectory. So they move out of the Earth atmosphere, re-enter the Earth atmosphere and strike the target. Depending upon their ranges, they have been named differently. Just take a look over here. You have ICBM, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, IRBM, Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile, Medium Range Ballistic Missile, Short Range Ballistic Missile. You have different variants of the ballistic missile. Just going into it slightly. Short range ballistic missile, they have range up to 1000 km. So here Agni and the Prithvi series, Agni and Prithvi series of Agni 1, not Agni all, Agni 1, and all the missiles of the Prithvi series are basically your SRBM, short range ballistic missile. Most of them have ranges less than 1000 kilometers. Say Agni 700 to 900 kilometer, Prithvi 1 150 kilometer, Prithvi 2 250 to 350 kilometer, Prithvi 3 350 to 500 kilometer. That is there. Okay. So one is your SRBM, short range ballistic missile. Then you have medium range ballistic missile, that is 1000 to 3000 kilometer. Remember, short range ballistic missile are in case of India have been targeted primarily for Pakistan. They have been targeted primarily for Pakistan or certain border area near to the China. Medium range ballistic missile 1000 to 3000 kilometer. Here you have Agni 2. The range is 2000 to 3000 kilometer, above 1000. Then intermediate range ballistic missile 3000 to 5000 kilometer. Agni 3 and Agni 4 are example of this. And then those moving from one continent to another are called intercontinental ballistic missile. So intercontinental, moving from one continent to another continent. That is ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. Take a look over here, this one. Moving from one continent to the other continent. It includes Agni 5. It includes Agni 5. So if you go to the last two one, intermediate or intercontinental, these missile can have your nuclear warhead or it can have conventional warhead. Nuclear warhead contains a nuclear weapon and a conventional warhead contains a non-nuclear warhead that could be like the traditional missile system. So one nomenclature is based on the range. Then there is one more, that is submarine launch ballistic missile, SRBM. Here we have two kind of missile. One is K4, which has a range of 3,500 km, and K15, which has a range of 700 km. So two are there, K4 and K15. Submarine SRBM, submarine launch ballistic missile. Now, another classification is depending upon the launch mode, how the missiles are launched. So second type of classification is based on the launch mode. So first type is surface to surface missile. So they are launched from surface and they are launched from the ground and they hit a ground target. This is called your surface to surface missiles. Agni, Prithvi, these are example of surface to surface missile. They are launched from land and they hit a land target. So they could be, now this surface to surface missile could be stationary on the missile silos or they could be placed on a mobile platforms. For example, a truck mounted missile system, or they can be put on rails. So first is surface to surface, second is surface to air. So surface to air missile system, they are launched from surface and they hit an aerial target. So basically they are launched from a surface ground and they hit a aerial target. Okay, they hit a aerial target. The aerial target could be aircraft, the aerial target could be a drone, or even the aerial target could be an incoming missile. You have heard about the Israeli system Iron Dome and other system. Iron Dome, Davis Link, S-400 India has purchased from Israel. S-400 India has purchased from the Russians. So they can shoot down an incoming missile. So that is example of surface to air missile system. We have India has also developed system like indigenous system like AVKS, Trishul. Barak 8 is a system developed in joint venture by India and Israel together. For example, take a look at this diagram. This is of AVKS. Then now we have also AVKS NG, next generation missile of AVKS. Then one another simple surface to air example of surface to air missile is IGLA, that is from the Russian, man portable air defense system. So an infantry soldier can carry it and fire it against an aircraft and can fire it against an aircraft. For example, you have the famous Stinger missile system of the Americans. Spider, another surface to air missile system that the Indian Air Force operate. They have purchased it from Israel. Another is your Barak 8, that is also from Israel. Then come to surface to sea missile. So these missile can be launched from your a coastal area from the land and it can hit a target in the sea. The target could be a ship or any other systems. So basically the surface to surface missile can be modified with greater accuracy to hit a sea target. For example, Dhanush is there. Launched from land and hit a sea target. So in Andaman Islands, you can place them and hit the enemy ships. Air to air missile. So air to air missile are fired by an aircraft and they hit another aircraft. They are fired by an aircraft and they hit another aircraft, air to air missile. Some of the example are Astra Mark 1, MK1 series of Astra Mark 2. Now they are working on Astra MK3. Then AMRAAM is a European air-to-air missile. Meteor. India has purchased Rafale aircraft from France So it contains what? They contains this meteor missile. Then you have air to, so this is air to air missile. Next is air to surface missile. So these are launched by an aircraft and they hit a ground target. So air to surface missile are specifically against the ground target. Now, earlier their ranges were less. Now their range have been increased. They have greater accuracy due to having a laser guidance system or infrared guidance system or even optical guidance system, GPS system. Different type of systems have been placed into the electronic component of the missile and they hit the designated target. Now you have these smart systems. Then you have one of the missile is anti-tank missile system. They are launched by a soldier and they hit a target. The target is a tank or an infantry vehicle. For example, here you have Spike is an Israeli system. Milan, which Indian Air Force operate. So these are example of. Then Nag is again an Indian system against tanks and infantry vehicle. Spike, Israeli one. Milan, which was being manufactured and licensed in India. So these are about missiles. Now coming to the naval warships. Coming to naval warships, we have different classes of naval warship. We have different classes of naval warships. The first one is a frigate. The ships operate in groups. The ships are not operating individually. The ships are operating in groups. For example, take a look at this diagram. You have an aircraft carrier and different ships moving. So ships are moving in groups. Ships and submarine, they move in groups with a designated defined role for each of them. So you have different types of ship. Each of them have a distinct function as a group. So the first one is frigates. So frigates have weight of less than 3000 ton or displacement of less than 3000 tons. And the primary function of a frigate is to protect the other ships of the strike group from submarine. So as a fleet of ship moves ahead, the frigate will be leading it. The frigate will be ahead. It will be clearing. It will be ensuring that the rest of the ships of the fleet are safe from the enemy submarine. So that is there. Then you have corvettes, small ships. Corvettes are small ships. Generally, they are used in small oceans and seas. Corvettes are small ships which are used in small oceans and ships. Okay, corvettes. So they have high maneuverability. Their ability to move in shallow water is also there. So basically, in shallow area, corvette is one of the things. Then you have destroyers. Destroyers are one of the most frequently used ships by the uh, naval forces these days. So they have wide range of action. They have high power. They have they can have application for military purpose, civilian purpose, as for escorting. So a lot of functions are there for destroyers. So one of the most widely used ships are there. So they have high firepower, high endurance. So both civilian and military roles are there for your this one. For example, you have this guided missile destroyer INS Visakhapatnam. So Indian Navy operates different classes of your missile destroyers. Then one of the type of large ship is cruisers. So they are next only to the aircraft carrier. They have very high firepower and they are very costly to operate. So very few countries are operating the cruisers. Indian Navy is not operating the cruisers. Only the Americans and the Russians have been operating the cruisers. Okay. Then next is amphibious assault aircraft, ships. For example, this one. Take a look at this one. So amphibious ships, assault ships. Amphibia is an organism which can live both in water and land. So they have the capability for action both at sea as well as at the source. So amphibious assault ships can help in landing of troops, tanks and other armament and just They can help to capture an island or a coastal area. They can land on the coast. They can help fight in a coastal area, take over the enemy coast region. So they support ground troops for transport, refueling, and lot of things. Okay. They even carry the troops, armored vehicles into the enemy territory, into the islands, or into the mainland near the sea. Then you have aircraft carriers. So aircraft carriers are some of the largest warships. They can have displacement of over 1 lakh, up to the large American aircraft carrier have displacement up to 1 lakh tons. So these are huge ships. So these are called carrier battle group. They do not operate alone, but they operate in groups. Just take a look over here. This data is slightly old. The Americans have 11 aircraft carriers. India has 2 at present, 2 functional one. So these are huge ships. So they move in group. These are called carrier battle groups. So the American aircraft carriers, some of the big aircraft carrier of America, they are over lakh. Their displacement is over 1 lakh ton. And they can carry even 80 to 90 fighter aircrafts on them, and some other aircraft, even drones. So that is why the Americans have fought war across the world using uh, these your aircraft carrier. They have different groups, carrier battle group, which can operate in, say, Pacific, Indo-Pacific, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, or in the West Asian area. Now, this is the Indian aircraft carrier INS Vikramaditya. Just take a look at this one. INS Vikramaditya. So this has MiG-29 aircraft placed on them, and then certain helicopters for the Navy. So this was a Russian aircraft carrier. So if you consider India, INS Vikramaditya is the third aircraft carrier. The first was INS Vikrant, second was INS Virat. Both were purchased from Britain. After some time, they were decommissioned. They were purchased from Britain, and after some time, they were decommissioned. And this is MiG-29K, which is placed on these aircraft carriers. Okay. Some news regarding that. MiG-29K, Navy boosts MiG-29K combat capability with 250-kilometer range. So that is how time to time they add new weapon system, new radar system all to this. And this becomes important. Aircraft carrier becomes important in the background of Indian Ocean being one of the most important sea lane of communication. So this is the Strait of Malacca or the Malacca Choke. So India wants to have at least 2 functional aircraft carrier, one in the Bay of Bengal, another is Bay of Bengal, another in Arabian Sea. So this is the Malacca Choke. So one of the problem with China is that they have a very thin. This is the Strait of Malacca through which their entire your oil supply and other pass. The Gwadar port, at present they are trying to develop other port that is called the String of Pearl. So they have been trying to develop a route into China using Gwadar, that in Balochistan, that is already in trouble, and all those, Burma again in trouble. So at present this is the main one. Then the second aircraft carrier India built indigenously. The first one is your INS Vikrant, INS Vikramaditya. At present, this is functional. This is a old Russian aircraft carrier that has been refurbished. Whereas the first was INS Vikrant. INS Vikrant and IS Virat were brought from Britain. So they were started, they entered the end life, they were decommissioned. Now India has built the first aircraft carrier indigenously, and this is renamed as INS Vikrant. So the first one that we operated, aircraft carrier that India operated, was also INS Vikrant, but that was from Britain, old aircraft carrier of Britain that we had purchased. This one has been developed in India by Cochin Shipyard Limited. So that is there, making India proud. Cochin Shipyard Limited that has built this one. This is there. So it is a tedious task. If you just go through it took nearly 10 to 12 years to construct it, and then finally to get it operational another 1 to 2 years. So it has over, the total cost of the project is more than 20,000 crore. So now India has the capability to, uh, build all classes of ships. Only problem at present is your submarine building. Nearly all classes of warships are being built indigenously in India. So this will be operating your MiG-29, Kamov helicopters, the American MH-60 helicopters and others. Okay. So it has more than 1,600 crew. So this is like this is a flying, this is a floating airport. So you can extend your power projection in different part of the world. Okay. Just take a look over here. Now India is going to sign the final price negotiation are over. Now India is going to purchase Rafale M, Rafale Marine. So M stand for Marine. Remember, Indian Air Force operates Rafale, and a modified version of that Rafale is Rafale Marine. So India is going to acquire these Rafale Marine from the French aircraft maker Dassault Aviation. Then in case of Indian Navy, you have MH-60 Romeo helicopter. This is coming from USA. This is a helicopter from Lockheed Martin. This is very good in anti-submarine warfare. Now in this you have a thing called magnetic anomaly detector. The round structure at the bottom here is magnetic anomaly detector. It can detect a submarine inside the water. So you have the French you have the indigenous aircraft carrier. You have the French Rafale Marine being purchased by India. Another American system coming into picture is your MH-60. Then PATI Poseidon. Again, it is a anti-submarine warfare system. So PATI Poseidon is manufactured by the American company Boeing, and it has been purchased by Navy. So this also has a lot of anti-submarine warfare role. It can keep track of the surface ship as well as the submarines. So MH-60 and PATI Poseidon both are American system which have great capacity in tracking the submarines and others. Now moving into the submarines. Indian Navy operates certain submarines. Let us take a look at it. So one is the Kilo class submarine. Not all the submarine are not listed named over here. So you have different classes of submarine. One is the Sindhugos or Kilo class submarine. So these are the older submarine that India had purchased from or manufactured under license, either purchased or manufactured under license from the Russian. This is the Kilo class submarine. These are being upgraded. These are toward the end of their life. So this one is Russian one. Then you have Sisumar class or type 209. These are German submarine. Then we have the Calvary class or the Scorpion class submarine, and total 6 such submarine are being built. After that, 3 more such submarine are planned to be built, slightly delayed, but that is there. And recently, an agreement, government has nearly approved this one, a new submarine, Majgaon Dock Limited plus ThyssenKrupp Marine of Germany for building new class of submarine under P75I program. So here, new class of submarine containing air independent propulsion system are being built. This is a company of Germany. So Majgaon Dock Limited is an Indian public sector company. They are tying up with TKMS, that is the German firm. So this was about your naval warfare systems. Then coming to Air Force. See, if you go into the history, the Indian Armed Forces had greater dependency on the Russians. So this is the MiG-21. So Indian Air Force has operated a series of MiG aircraft. MiG-27, MiG-29, this is in operational. MiG-21 were assembled in India by Hindustan Aeronautic Limited (HAL) under license from the Russian corporation. So one of the oldest aircraft, uh, some squadron of MiG-21 are operational. They are to be phased out. MiG-27 has been phased out. MiG-29 is there in operation by the Indian Air Force. There are some MiG-29 even in the naval version. Then you have MiG-23. So MiG-21, 23, 25, 27, 29. Different series of the MiGs coming from the Russian side. Indian Air Force has operated. Then at present, Indian Air Force operate a lot of Sukhoi 30. So Sukhoi MKI. MKI stand is the Indian variant of the Su-30 or Sukhoi 30 aircraft. So it has been, some of it has come from Russia and some of it have been assembled by HAL in India under license from the Russian firm. So they form the, in fact, the mainstay of the Indian Air Force. It has around 280 such aircraft. So bulk of the aircraft of Indian Air Force is from the Russian origin. Then we have Jaguar. So Jaguar aircraft is an Anglo-French origin. So British and the French. Jaguar aircraft. Then you have the Mirage 2000. Mirage 2000 is of France, of the French company Dassault Aviation, the same company which manufacture Rafale. So India has been happy with their performance. Even in the Kargil warfare, it was used. Then you have the Rafale, the French Rafale. So both are from the same company, Rafale. And now the Indian Navy also going for Rafale M or the naval variant of the Rafale. So these were about the either fighter aircraft or multi-role fighter aircrafts. Moving on to the transport platform. This is IL-76, again of Russian origin. So if you go back into the geopolitics, India became closer to the Russians. So till 90s, you have more of the Russian system coming into India. In fact, you do the political alliance, the Pakistani had more of the American weapon system. This can carry large number of troops, IL-76, 70-80 tons of cargo. Then you have AN-32, that is of Russia and Ukraine origin. So earlier USSR was same. When the USSR broke down, the manufacturing of this aircraft went into the Ukrainian countryside. So these were the beginning one. Now coming to the recent one, this is C-130J Hercules. This is of American origin, Lockheed Martin. So India uses them also, Lockheed Martin. Then C-17 Globemaster heavy lift aircraft. So these have been found to be very useful. C-17 Globemaster. This is from Boeing. So Indian Air Force operate these C-17 Globemaster long range. They can carry your 500 to 600 troops, fully armed troops. They can also carry tanks and armored personnel carriers, etc. So very effective for long distance troop movement. So right from south to north or from east to west. If we go into the helicopters, uh, this one is Chinook. This one is Chinook. Okay, this is the American recent one. So this is a heavy lift helicopter for border area. It can even lift your light artillery guns. Light artillery guns can be carried by, that can be attached to the lower side. Then you have the Apache. Just I will show you. image of the Rafale and Sukhoi. Then in your one indigenous fighter aircraft is LCA Tejas. You have what? LCA Tejas, Tejas Mark 1, Mark 2. In transport aircraft, we discussed just now. Earlier, most of the aircraft were of Russian origin, IL-76 and AN-32. Now, we have American origin aircraft for transport, that is C-17 Globemaster, C-130J Hercules, and now we have this a new aircraft coming into picture to replace some of the even AN-32 and the earlier aircraft, that is C-295. This is from Airbus, and this is being manufactured in India, and this is being manufactured in India under joint venture of Airbus and Tata. So this is there. So in terms of transport aircraft, you have the American one. The Russians were the beginning one, then came American, and now you have the European origin C-295. In terms of helicopters, the Indian forces operate various Russian origin aircraft. Mi series of Russia, Mi-8, Mi-17, Mi-26, these are of the Russian origin. Then you have or American origin helicopter like Chinook, Apache, etc. Then you have Indian origin helicopters like ALH, Advanced Light Helicopter Dhruv, Light Combat Aircraft Prachand, etc. Now we also have the Indian system. Okay. Now we also have the Indian system. So these are some of the platforms. So going into the dynamics of defense, India is one of the largest importer of weapon systems. Slowly, government is trying to increase the indigenous level of indigenous technology, whether in army, air force, and other. That is why Tejas aircraft becomes important. Now India is going for large scale manufacture of Tejas. Tejas Mark 1, then Tejas Mark 2. They are working on it. Then the next would be AMCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. This one is of the Russian origin, and this is ALH Dhruv, and then you have Light Combat Aircraft, Prachand, LCH. Okay. So just take a look over here. We have been one of the top importers of weapon system. So that is necessary also. There should not be delay. In fact, government is talking about improving the timeline in defense purchase. So there is an institute called SIPRI, Stockholm Institute of Peace Research. Often it comes out report about who is purchasing how much. So according to this report that was published in 2026, India continues to be the world's top arm importer. Okay. So this was published in 2024. That is there. So the focus should be on indigenous defense. The focus of the government is also now on the indigenous defense manufacturing. Now, the defense technology sector has few components. There are 5 components basically: the military or the end user. Then you have the research institution, that is the DRDO, and defense public. DRDO is for research, and defense public sector unit are for manufacturing of the product. Then you have private sector, then you have political leadership, and then you have public perception. What is the public want on that? Okay. So military or the end user, DRDO is the research organization, and defense PSU are the manufacturing, actual manufacturing, then private sector, then political leadership, and then public perception. So see, there often we see that many of the weapon platform that we have discussed many of them have come from outside. So one of the criticism is that there has been a delay, or there has been lack of coordination to perfect level between or lack of coordination between the armed forces and the DRDO and the manufacturing unit, etc. Okay. Then you have one more component called ordnance factory. So one of the reform that has been done is the ordnance factory have been converted into 7 government companies. Now no longer this organization called ordnance factory board is existing. In fact, all the factories or manufacturing unit under Ordnance Factory Board have been converted into 7 public sector unit. So they are like they are now defense PSU. So the Ordnance Factory Board has now become what? Defense PSU. So defense public sector unit, if you consider DPSU now, some of the larger one, HAL, Hindustan Aeronautic Limited, you have read in geography also, where aircraft manufacturing is located. Basically, you are talking about the plant of HAL, Bangalore, Kanpur, Nasik. These are the places where HAL has its plant. Then Bharat Electronic Limited, Majgaon Dock Limited, Hindustan Shipyard, Garden Ridge Shipyard, etc. These are there. So several committees have been set up with an objective to improve the indigenous defense manufacturing. Some of the committee, just name few: Abdul Kalam, our Honorable President Sahab, then group of minister, Kelkar committee, Sisodia committee. Then you have a committee, recent one is Dhiren Singh committee. The most recent committee is your Dhiren Singh committee. This is sixth one, Dhiren Singh committee. So this was also the primary purpose of this committee was to increase the local manufacturing of the weapon system. Now we'll go into that in detail. So government is also encouraging your private sector as well as foreign companies. So foreign companies, how the foreign companies can come? They can come in the form of joint venture mode. So a foreign company and Indian company can tie up and make a product. So in some cases, the foreign direct investment limit have been increased to 100% if a very critical technology is being bought. And this has to be approved by Cabinet Committee on Security, which has Defense Minister, Finance Minister, External Affairs Minister, etc. Just take example, this is a Carl Gustav, one of the classical weapon system, Carl Gustav, manufactured by Saab. Now they have set up a 100% owned factory in India. So we are even encouraging the foreign company to have a plant in India. Now this Dhiren Singh committee, the last one, the committee that was the committee for indigenization of or local production of the weapon system, they had come out with, they studied the equipment and they said that defense equipment have a life of 40 to 50 years. And overall, they are big players in the defense industry. And that is why they suggested few models: strategic partnership model, developmental partnership model, and competitive partnership model. 3 models have been suggested by Dhiren Singh committee. Okay. So under strategic partnership model, a foreign company and an Indian company will come together. The foreign partner will transfer the technology to the local partner and they will manufacture that product over India. Okay. Strategic partnership model visualizes identification of big private player and nurturing them through preferential treatment, not equal. Now even the PSU are applicable for strategic partnership model. So this Dhiren Singh committee suggested strategic partnership model and 2 others. Now it identified 6 segments in which strategic partnership should be done: aircraft, transport, etc., etc. Then these are the 6 sector: aircraft, warships, armored vehicle, weapon system on guidance, that is missile. Then you have C4I, command, control, communication, computer, then critical material. So based on that, now they are saying that not equal treatment. You have to give preferential treatment to few companies. Now the point is, on what basis this preferential treatment should be done. For that, they set up another committee called VK Atre committee to identify the criteria on which a strategic partner will be selected. So the Atre task force, VK Atre, he was the former chairman of DRDO. He said that the strategic partner should be selected based on 2 criteria: financial criteria of the company and technical criteria. That is there, financial and technical criteria. And now let us move ahead. So till now, all the aircraft in India were manufactured by public sector, that is HAL. Now the first aircraft to be manufactured by private sector in India is your C-295, and this will be manufactured by Tata and Tata Advanced System Limited and Airbus Industry. So the beginning deal was for 56 aircraft, 16 to come from the Airbus plant in Spain, and rest 40 to be made in India, and slowly the indigenous content to be increased. So that is there. So now we are encouraging the private sector to be to play a greater role in the defense manufacturing process. So earlier all the aircraft were manufactured by HAL. Now we have the first private sector, Tata Advanced System Limited, which is making an aircraft in India. The plant has been inaugurated at Vadodara in Gujarat. Not only this one, but government is also encouraging even other companies to be a part of the defense manufacturing system and to encourage the military industrial complex in the country. It has been encouraging joint venture between Indian company and foreign company. For example, this is a gun which has been procured by the Indian Army, that is K9 Vajra. So the self-propelled howitzer 100 have been already been provided to the army, 100 more have been ordered. So this has been manufactured in India by L&T. L&T has signed a deal with Hanwha, that is the company of South Korea, to jointly manufacturing the company your self-propelled howitzer in India. Then take a look over here. Adani Elbit joint venture for manufacture of Hermes 900. So this is a drone. Medium altitude, long endurance drone. So not only it has been manufactured, it has been even to exported to Israel. Many of the aerostructure of another. So government is trying to encourage, whether it is Tata's or L&T or the Adani Elbit one, to set up defense manufacturing in India. So that has changed a lot. Tata has also tied up with a different company, for example, Lockheed Martin, to manufacture some of the aero components. Kalyani has tied up with Rafael. Kalyani is an Indian firm based in Pune. Kalyani makes met of the artillery guns. So it has tied up with Rafael of Israel. What government has done? Government has done one more thing called positive indigenization list. So government is saying that these things we will purchase only from domestic industry. So this will also give a fillip to the your Indian manufacturer, Indian MSME and other defense manufacturer. So there's a program called IDEX, Innovation for Defense Excellence. So innovation in aerospace and defense industry, IDEX. So it is encouraging MSME, new technology in the area. Government has provided 500 crore for this IDEX. Then one more scheme has been the Sprint, supporting pole vaulting in R&D for defense sprint program. For example, develop niche technology in space and naval domain. So these are there. So government is encouraging or doing hand holding of the private sector through such program like innovation for defense in excellence, then Sprint supporting pole vaulting in R&D through innovation for defense excellence. That is there. Going into the analysis, you have an organization. We have an organization called DRDO. So Defense Research and Development Organization, DRDO. Just before that, slightly I will show you a structure of our Okay. So going into both appreciation as well as certain, DRDO is the main organization for conducting research in defense technology area by the government. So the primary aim was to increase the level of indigenous product, but we have not achieved the desired one. But let us go into some of the achievement of DRDO. Tejas, indigenous light combat aircraft. Then India's nuclear submarine, that is INS Arihant. Then you have different type of missile system. We discussed about your Agni, Prithvi. Then BrahMos, different type of missile system have been developed by the DRDO, either independently or in some of them. For example, BrahMos has been a joint venture. Barakat has been a joint venture. Now, there are different committees which have been set up for reviewing the functioning of DRDO. One of the committee was Ramarao committee, and even parliamentary committee and others also. They have suggested that DRDO is doing research on large number of systems. So they said that rather than doing 400, 500 research, you should come down to identify 8, 10, 20 critical things and focus on those critical area. So Ramarao's committee has also said to focus on 8 to 10 critical areas. For example, Tejas, MK2, then MK, fifth generation twin engine aircraft MK, main battle tank, unmanned aerial vehicle, AVKS system, airborne early warning and control system, etc. In US, we have an agency called DARPA that you should slightly have an idea. In India, we have an agency called DRDO. In US, you have an agency called DARPA, which is quite small as compared to the manpower that is there in DRDO. So that is there. So there we have expanded role of the private sector. Even the R&D is done by private sector. Similarly, you will find now India is also encouraging your private sector through approaches like strategic partnership and other. Then government is encouraging DRDO for joint venture project like BrahMos with DRDO and Russia. Barakat is there with Israeli aircraft industry. Now certain facilities have been extended to private sector. DRDO is opening up the door to private player by adopting government-owned company-operated model. So some of the government asset can be even utilized by the private sector. Then another is your coming out with specialized MTech courses in defense technology, etc. Then a recent task force, this is important, K. Vijay Raghavan committee. K. Vijay Raghavan committee has been set up to suggest reform in the DRDO, one of the major defense. So in 2023, this has been set up called K. Vijay Raghavan committee. At least you should have idea about that. K. Vijay Raghavan committee. So this is being implemented. That is why 2025 has been declared by Ministry of Defense as the year of reform. So at present, DRDO is working under Ministry of Defense. Take a look over here. Current, this is the situation. What has been proposed? To transfer DRDO from your Ministry of Defense to PMO. That is one reform. So the command control from Ministry of Defense, where it goes? PMO. So if it comes and see, certain departments are under PMO. For example, Department of Space, Department of Atomic Energy, they report directly to PMO. So that is one of the major reform that has been suggested by the K. Vijay Raghavan committee. So second, it says that to reduce the number of labs, it is saying that from more than 40, 50, 40, more than you restructure the labs, the more number of labs into 10 national level labs. So basically review their performance, what has to be done, what has not to be done, etc. Then increasing the accountability of the scientist, strict performance. See, one of the aspect of DRDO has been a lot of delay has been there in the defense research process. So, to speed up that aspect, then it has even talked about project-based hiring in case of defense research. Project-based hiring in case of defense research. So, remember this one, the K. Vijay Raghavan committee is one of the major committees. This is being implemented. So, in stepwise, some of them would be implemented in the beginning, some with slight delay, but that is there. Okay, we had discussed about INS. So, I had in the beginning only shown you this INS Vikramaditya. This was the aircraft carrier built. INS Vikramaditya, which was a Russian one, Russian aircraft carrier, which India slightly changed and then it is using. Then we talked about the indigenous aircraft carrier or INS Vikrant that India has been using. We talked about INS Vikrant also. We talked about INS Vikrant. Okay. So moving ahead, these were the aircraft carriers. Moving ahead, let's go to the technology called stealth. The concept of stealth is that your visibility should be less to the enemy. There are different techniques whereby the armed forces try to reduce their signature or their visibility to the enemy, and that is the concept of stealth. The very basic stealth is about matching the background like camouflage. A desert soldier having yellowish color or a soldier performing in say jungle area, it has the gray and greenish patch like cloth. So if you move ahead in technology, for example in aircraft and other, there are few concepts. One is the design of the aircraft. The design of the aircraft is such that the radar, when radar waves strike these aircraft, they are deflected back in direction different from that of the radar. They do not deflect back to the radar. So if the radio waves do not go back to the radar, the aircraft would not be detected by the radar system, or there is concept of radar absorbent material. So on the surface of the aircraft system, you have certain paints. These paint absorb the radio waves. Absorb the radio waves. Second or next aspect is all the weapons. All the weapon of the aircraft are put inside the belly, so the hard points are not visible. The missiles are not visible in this case. This is F-22. And now you have a news about F-35 aircraft which US may offer to India. There are discussions on that. Now in case of Indian aircraft, Indian made aircraft, the Tejas is not a stealth aircraft. Many of the concept of stealth will be induced into this one that called AMCA, twin engine aircraft, that is being, the design has been finalized. So after Tejas, the aircraft that will be utilized by the Indian Armed Forces, AMCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. So it will be replacing many of the Russian and other platforms. This is the B-2, famous B-2 bombers. Okay. Then moving on to, these are some of the structures, just take a look. This is a stealth aircraft. All the weapon systems are not visible. Whereas this is a Rafale where all the missiles and other are visible. So that is there. There are different concepts. So AMCA is about incorporating stealth system. Now moving on to, there is extensive use of drones or unmanned aerial vehicle. So cheaper, they can be operated for long period of time. They reduce the threat to the pilot in case of a contested airspace. So you have different type of drones. So drone began from a very simple thing like surveillance of area, then delivery. Basically, it was used for surveillance purpose, and then its role expanded. Some of the drones. Take a look at. Now, this is a searcher drone that India has purchased from Israel. Searcher and Heron drones were purchased from Israel by the Indian Armed Forces. Searcher MK2, Searcher and Heron, India purchased from Israel. And now the news is about this one, that is your MQ9. In the recent time, you have a lot of news about this drone called MQ9B, Predator drones. So these are HALE, high altitude, long endurance drones. They can fly for long period of time, 30 to 40 hours. So they can have multiple application. They can be used for surveillance. They can be used for search and rescue, border enforcement, keeping an eye on they have a WACS role also. They can detect an incoming aircraft. So different type of that can be used even against submarines. So total 31 MQ9B have to be purchased, 15 for the Navy and 8 each for Army and Air Force. MQ9. Then this drone was in use, Drishti 10. This is basically Elbit 900 drone, Hermes 900 drone made in India by Elbit and Adani. Elbit is the Israeli company and Adani is the Indian company. Then you have concept like swarm drones. So drones are very cost effective if you have say 50, 70 of such drone with such weapon system. So drone becomes a headache for the regular armed forces. You cannot shoot down them using costly and missile, anti-aircraft missile. So Indian DRDO was working on a Rustam 2 drone, though it could not achieve the final target, but that is working on Rustam 2 drone. Then you have a famous drone called that became a lot famous. That is the Bayraktar drone of the TB2 or Bayraktar drone made by the Turkish. So they came into lot of news. These drones came into lot of news. Okay. So MQ9 is in news these days. Let us see. Then you have missile called Agni 5. Okay, let us go into Agni 5. So this is the first, or this is the, at present the only operational intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM with India. So India became one of the pioneer nation to operate or to develop such as intercontinental ballistic missile. Just take a look at it. So it covers entire of China. In fact, even its range extend up to, you can say, part of the Western Europe. More than half of the Africa comes in its range. On the eastern side, it covers a lot of area. So basically, Agni 5 is China centric missile. Agni 5 is what? It is China centric missile. So Prithvi and Agni 1 were Pak centric, and then Agni 5 specifically your China centric. Now take a look. This is a 3-stage missile: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And on the top of this, you have the warheads. It could be nuclear warhead or it could be your conventional warhead. So in emergency, they can even be used to launch small satellite. So they can go up to an height up to 500 to 600 kilometer. And it has MIRV capability, multiple independent re-entry vehicle capability, MIRV. Okay. Then let us come to submarine. We talked about submarine in the beginning. There are two kinds of submarine. One is your diesel electric submarine. We have two kinds of submarines. and second is nuclear submarine. They need to come to surface for running, for charging their batteries. They operate their generators. Whereas nuclear submarine, they get power from nuclear reactors. They can be underwater for long period of time. They need not surface to recharge the battery. Only when you need food and other supply, they need to come to surface. Otherwise, they can continuously produce power within the sea only. So there is no need to come to the surface. They can be working within the ocean only. Now, the nuclear submarine can be of two types. SSBN and SSN. So, the SSBNs carry nuclear ballistic missiles. They are part of the nuclear triad: land-based weapon system, air-based weapon system, and sea-based weapon system. Whereas SSN, they are used against enemy ships and submarines. They target the enemy's submarines as well as ships. So the first indigenous nuclear submarine in India was INS Arihant. So this has been built at at Visakhapatnam. This has been built at Visakhapatnam. So INS Arihant was the first indigenous nuclear submarine. Then now you have INS Arighat and other coming into picture. So they form the part of nuclear triad. So they carry these SSBNs, carry the ballistic missile with the nuclear warheads. The naval arm of the nuclear triad is specially segment, giving its no first use. So INS Arihant, Arighat and others are coming into picture. Okay. This is example of MIRV, multiple independent re-entry vehicle. At the end of the last stage of missile can have these. Okay. Now let me go into, this was about defense. Let us go into some other technology areas. So we'll first go into slightly into space technology. So in case of space, lot of changes have taken place. Uh, we have the premier agency of ISRO. Beside that, we are in the era where the first era was space 1.0 astronomy, space 2.0 you had uh, space race, then space 3.0 international collaboration, and now we are space 4.0, where public sector, private sector, GPS, a common man is also availing the benefit of space technology. We are into this era called space technology of the space 4.0. So public sector, private sector, Elon Musk, his company, earlier it was restricted only to the government agencies. Now you have the, you can say, democratization of the space technology has happened. There is role of academia, there is role of private sector, there is role of public sector, etc. All of them coming into picture. Now, some of the concept in space is what are the orbits? So, orbit is a path in which the satellite move. Normally, there are, if we classify the orbit according to NASA or any standard organization, we have these type of classification. Number one is low Earth orbit, and there is a term called polar orbit. Low Earth orbit is up to an altitude of 1000 km. Up to an altitude of 1000 km. Here the satellite move very fast. So here the satellite can move, make 12, 13, 14 orbit of an Earth in a day. So this is the low Earth orbit. Now this is North Pole, this is South Pole. So if a satellite is moving pole to pole or inclined to the pole, it is called a polar orbit. Just take a look at this one. Both are low Earth orbit. Both are low Earth orbit. So the European Space Agency says that up to 1000 km is low Earth orbit. So one is inclined to the equator, other is inclined to the pole. So the low Earth orbit can be inclined to the equator or it can be inclined to the poles. Nowadays, Elon Musk's company, that is your Starlink, is using low Earth orbit satellite for providing telecom services like internet, and all those services are being provided by through low Earth orbit. Now take a look at, these are the polar orbits. Here the satellite move from pole to pole. So polar orbits are very preferable for taking images of the Earth. So in the first orbit, say this is moving over India. Now the Earth rotates below. Now next time when the satellite comes back, this was the first orbit. Now the Earth rotates below. In the second orbit, it is over West Asia. Again, it goes to the darker side from the, say this side is sun, it goes to the darker side. Again, it comes back. By that time, the Earth has further rotated on its axis. Now it is covering your Central Africa. In the next orbit, when it comes back, it is over the Western Africa. So polar orbit can help you or help the organization to take image of the entire Earth. So polar orbits are very effective for remote sensing satellite. You have seen Google Earth and others. So they take image of the entire Earth. In medium Earth orbit, low Earth orbit, in medium Earth orbit, you have semi-synchronous orbit. So these are at an altitude of around 20,000 km from the Earth's surface. And these are very effectively used by the Americans and the Chinese for the global, for navigation system which are of global nature. For global navigation system, that American GPS system or the Chinese BIDO, they are using this semi-synchronous orbit. Then in high Earth orbit, you have two orbits. So one is low Earth orbit, then you have medium orbit, and then you have high Earth orbit. In high Earth orbit, you have two orbit. One is called geostationary, and other is geosynchronous. Geostationary and geosynchronous. So in both the cases, the altitude from the surface of Earth is 36,000 km. So when you take a satellite to this altitude and either inclined to the equator slightly or near to the equator, near perfect to the equator, the satellite move in tune with the Earth. A correlation is established so that the satellite appears, can be observed from a point on the Earth. So geostationary and geosynchronous. Geostationary is a special case of geosynchronous orbit. Special case of geosynchronous, circular geosynchronous orbit, perfect over the equator, altitude 36,000 degree. There is no inclination between, there is 0 degree inclination or no inclination between your Earth axis of rotation and the satellite plane of revolution. And if it is slightly inclined, it is called geosynchronous. So the INSAT and GSAT series satellite are placed where? They are placed in this orbit. They are placed in geosynchronous and geostationary orbit. Geosynchronous and geostationary orbit. Okay. Then there is one more orbit. There is one more orbit which is in news. That is called that is in news with respect to Sun, and this is called Lagrange point. Lagrange point. This is along the Earth-Sun axis. This specific orbit, Lagrange point, are on an orbit around the Sun. On an orbit around the Sun. Just take a look. This is Sun. This is the blue dot is Earth. You have 5 points on Earth-Sun axis where the pull of gravity of Earth and pull of gravity of Sun cancel out each other. These are called Lagrange point, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. So why I have spoken about Lagrange point? Because there is a mission called Mission Aditya for study of Sun by ISRO. So Mission Aditya is about placing the satellite in this Lagrange point. Okay. Mission Aditya is about placing the satellite in this Lagrange point. In this Lagrange point. Just a minute. And coming to ISRO, the image here is of Vikram Sarabhai. He is considered to be the father of Indian space research program. So Vikram Sarabhai founded an organization called Physical Research Laboratory at Ahmedabad, and that is considered to the beginning of Indian space program. So Vikram Sarabhai is we consider him the father of the Indian space program. And in fact, in beginning, it got funding from Department of Atomic Energy. So Vikram Sarabhai was also chairman of your Atomic Energy Commission. So Vikram Sarabhai has two great areas. One is he was the father of Indian space program. After the death of Homi Jahangir Baba, he also became the chairman of Department of Atomic Energy. And he is also the founder of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. So if I consider ISRO, some of the main organization of ISRO, if I go into this, ISRO, certain centers are there. One is Space Application Center, Ahmedabad. That is for your uh, application of space technology for human welfare, meteorology, communication, etc. Headquarter of ISRO, headquarter Department of Space and Space Commission, these are all located at Bangalore. So Bangalore is, you can say, the hub of the Indian space program. Bangalore is the hub of the Indian space program. Then you have the INSET program office. So the INSET or GSAT satellite are used by multiple organizations. ISRO is also using it, Doordarshan is also using it, Department of Telecom is also using. So multiple organization, and for that you have a organization called INSET program office. Then you have a company called Antriksh Corporation. This is the commercial arm of ISRO. So for example, if a foreign satellite is launched by ISRO, Antriksh Corporation used to do the negotiation with that foreign vendor, that foreign company. So for commercialization of this ISRO and its product, we have the company called Antriksh Corporation, the old one. Now government has set up a new company for for encouraging the role of private sector and commercial use of space technology. that is NSIL, New Space India Technology. New Space India Limited, it was set up in 2019. See, now the target is that the established rocket system like PSLV, GSLV should be launched through industry. Why not have Indian entrepreneurs in space tech sector? Why not have Indian entrepreneurs? So many of the technology, manufacture of the satellite, launch of the satellite, there would be greater role of the private sector, even sharing of the ISRO infrastructure under with that. So just take a look. The global space economy is over now it is around $400 billion, and this is the share of Indian space industry, hardly $7 to $8 billion. So that is why government is trying to encourage private sector to be part of this. Take a look at this slide. ISRO's new commercial arm invite private sector to make PSLV rocket. Earlier, the ISRO used to outsource component, assemble it at their place. Now it has been done. Let the private sector come, make it and assemble the rocket and launch it from ISRO. Then you have a center called URAO or ISRO Satellite Center. So this is at Bangalore, and this organization used to make all the satellite. All the satellite made in public sector were coming from this side, URAO Center. Then for tracking of the satellite, we have an organization called ISRO Telemetry Tracking and Command Network. It is at near Bangalore. So the organization keeps an eye on all the satellite, and that is how it works. Then you have LPSC, Liquid Propulsion System Center. Propulsion means the rocket system generates its power from the hot gases that come out of the rocket. So that is the propulsion. It works on the Newton's third law. The hot gases come out and the rocket move ahead. So for developing propulsion system for rocket and satellite, we have two LPSC. One is at LPSC Bangalore for design of propulsion system for satellite. Satellite also have small propulsion system. Whereas for LPSC Valimala, that is at Trivandrum for that. Then we have there is a center called Master Control Facility of ISRO for maneuvering of the satellite. There are two master control facility. One is in Hassan, Karnataka. Another is at now MCF B at Bhopal. So after the satellite are launched, they will be taken over and then their movement would be controlled. So if the satellite moves away from its designated path, the master control facility will burn the motor of the satellite and bring it back to the path. Just take a look at how the satellite maneuvering is done. They can move from one to another orbit, and here you will find LMR firing, liquid apogee motor firing. So the changing of orbit of satellite is regulated by this master control facility at two places, Hassan and Bhopal. Then one important organization is National Remote Sensing Center Bhopal, NRSC Bhopal. Just take a look. So it is working with remote sensing. Remote sensing satellites take image of Earth in different spectrum. It could be visible spectrum, infrared, a different type, and that is how they compare. This is an example of that Kedarnath area. So nowadays it is very difficult to hide things from the eyes of the satellite. So very important organization, NRSC. It has civilian application as well as remote sensing as civilian application as well as military application. Then one of the organization is one is NRSC, Indian National Remote Sensing Center, Hyderabad. Then Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. Sometimes they ask question on institution and location. So Indian Institute of Remote Sensing is at Dehradun, IIRC. Then now they have set up a separate institution for space technology called Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, Trivandrum. Now, if I go to the launch center of India, from where the rockets are launched, there are three main launch center of India. One is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Sriharikota. So there are three main launch center. First is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum. Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, that is Tiruvananthapuram, Trivandrum. This is on the western coast, and here it was the beginning of the space research for especially for your launch vehicle and other was done. This is also the main center where research is done on different type of rocket system, their engine, etc. at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum. And Here, the main rocket that here research is done on all type of rockets, PSLV, GSLV, and all type of rockets. But launching is done only of sounding rocket. So sounding rocket go vertically into the. So in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum, primarily for research and launch of specifically sounding rocket, not all type of rocket. Launch of what? Sounding rocket. Whereas the main launching center is Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. The main launch center is Sriharikota. Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. So all your PSLV, GSLV and other rocket which are for launching functional satellite are launched from where? They are launched from Vikram Sarabhai, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. That is the main launch pad of India. Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Okay. Now the third, India is developing a third launch pad that can be the question in current aspect. Kulsekhar in Tamil Nadu. This is specifically the third launch center at your Kulsekhar would be primarily used for launching satellite in polar orbit. That is, the satellite will move from pole to pole. Why? The reason is when direct north to south launch was done in polar orbit by the rockets, Sri Lanka used to come, and here they had to make a turn, and that is why now they have set up this. They are setting up this center nearly land acquisition has been Kulsekhar in Tamil Nadu. So the polar satellite can be launched from the PSLV rocket, and there is no need to move a lot or turn a lot. Okay, that is there. Then, so these are the three launch centers. This is here you have Trivandrum, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Trivandrum. Sriharikota is the main one. Sriharikota, remember, lies in Andhra, not in Tamil Nadu. Then there is a thing called, we discussed remote sensing. Remote sensing means you are taking image of the earth using different kind of satellites. IRS, just take a look. The remote sensing satellite are also called earth observation satellite. You have different type of earth observation satellite. So they have civilian function as well as military function. And this is the name of that program, IRS, Indian Remote Sensing Satellite Program, IRS. You have the Indian Remote Sensing Program. So for remote sensing, you have two important organizations we discussed. NRSC Hyderabad and Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. You have different application of remote sensing, and the main program is IRS, Indian Remote Sensing Satellite Series. So right from weather prediction to tracking of disaster management, study of snow and glacier, multiple type of functions are there in case of this one. Okay. We talked about the launch center, then slightly about the launch vehicles or the rockets which have been developed by ISRO. The first type of rockets are the sounding rockets. This have been developed way back, right from 60s and 70s till now. So the sounding rockets, the first type of rocket are sounding rockets. They do not carry any payload or any satellite into the space. They are primarily, they carry equipment, and these equipment are used for study of the upper atmosphere. So one is sounding rocket. Then came the first actual launch vehicle called SLV, satellite launch vehicle. So it can take a small satellite, 40-50 kg weight satellite into the low Earth orbit. That is satellite launch vehicle 3. Then you have ASLV, augmented satellite launch vehicle. It can carry a 150 kg payload into the space, ASLV. And then came PSLV. This is one of the most important rocket of India, PSLV. So this is a 4-stage rocket. Just take a look over here. This is the PSLV rocket. C stand for commercial. This is the PSLV. White, red, white, red. So these are 4 stages. This is the first white one. The white one is the first stage. Then the red is the second. Then again white, third, fourth. So there are 4 stages. Just take a look over here. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Why? Because if there is a single piece, the weight has to be carried out. So one stage burns, it falls down. Second stage burns, it falls down. And on the top of this 4th stage, here you have the satellite. On the top here in the nose cone, you have the satellite. So PSLV is one of the most successful rocket of ISRO. Globally, it has been, even global recognition is there for PSLV. So in PSLV, the first and third stage use solid propellant, and second and fourth stage use liquid propellant. Okay. Then you have GSLV, Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle. Then came GSLV, and this is the first aircraft. This is the first rocket to use cryogenic engine using liquid hydrogen. So there are three types. First was using GSLV Mk1 was using Russian cryogenic engine. Then we have GSLV Mk2. Here the first indigenous cryogenic engine was developed, and now we are using GSLV Mk3. This is GSLV Mark II with the indigenous cryogenic engine, and then we have GSLV Mark III. So this is the, at present, this is the functional rocket GSLV Mk3 which can carry heaviest payload into the outer space. So it has three stages. First stage is solid, second stage is liquid, and third is cryogenic. So it has three stages. First stage is solid, second stage liquid, and third is cryogenic. Three-stage rocket GSLV Mk3, and this is the most powerful rocket at present with ISRO. It has been used even in Chandrayaan and many other missions. This is how the rocket. This is the solid fuel. This one is the liquid fuel, and here you have the cryogenic stage. Okay. These are some of the international rockets. This is the Falcon rocket of SpaceX, Ariane rocket. And now ISRO has developed one more rocket system called SSLV, Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. So the functional launch vehicle, the functional rocket with ISRO at present is your PSLV, SSLV, PSLV for weight around 1 ton to 2 ton. More than 2 ton, you have GSLV. For 500 up to 500 kg payload, you have another kind of launch vehicle called Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, SSLV. So if less amount of weight has to be carried, they will be using what? SSLV. And some more tests have been done. A new kind of reusable system is being developed by India called reusable launch vehicle. I will just show you a diagram. Just take India is trying to develop a reusable system, reusable launch vehicle. So which can be used again and again. India is trying to develop a system called reusable launch vehicle like this. So this can land, it flies like a rocket, comes back and land like a aircraft, and it can be reused. So you have this one. Okay. Then going into, we have two important mission at present. There is a mission called Gaganyaan. There is a mission called Gaganyaan. So Gaganyaan mission is about sending Indian astronaut into outer space and bringing them back using Indian system. Space mission. So we have sent people into outer space using the Russian system. But here our target is what? Here our target is to send Indian into space and bring him back using an Indian system. So this is this mission will be called Gaganyaan mission. So in the next 2 to 3 years, so this is an example of a space crewscape. This is the example of a crew module containing the crew module and the service module. So this structure will go into the space on the top of a GSLV rocket. So 3 astronauts will be sent over there. 3 astronauts will be sent over there. Different kind of things would be there, training and all those aspects are there. Okay. So that was about your the human space program. That was about human space program. Then we had a very successful program called Chandrayaan. I'm not going to all slide. I'm showing the diagram. Chandrayaan 1, long back. So here you took a system around the moon way back in 2009. This was Chandrayaan 1. Then then we had Chandrayaan 2, again for study of moon. So in Chandrayaan 2, it was planned to land on the surface of moon. So we had Chandrayaan 2. There was a Vikram lander. The purpose of Vikram lander was to land on the moon, and there was an orbiter to move around the moon. So Chandrayaan 2 had two component, orbiter and lander, Vikram lander. Now Vikram lander landed on the surface of moon, but there was hard landing. It crash landed on the surface. Therefore, Chandrayaan 2 Vikram lander could not send you the data. And inside the lander there was a robot which was planned to move on the surface of moon. So this did not work well. This was the lander where crash landing happened. The orbiter was there. So this was the orbiter of Chandrayaan 2, and that is why comes Chandrayaan 3. Now in Chandrayaan 3 was successful. The Chandrayaan 3 was taken from Earth orbit into the moon's orbit. Then the Chandrayaan 3, this structure, this lander successfully landed on the, this structure made a successful landing on the, so Chandrayaan 3, while Chandrayaan 2 failed, Chandrayaan 3 succeeded. How? The lander landed successfully on the surface of moon. It did a certain experiment and sent back the data. This was the lander. So in Chandrayaan 3 was actually a continuation of the Chandrayaan 2 program that has been acclaimed a lot. So what elements and other things were found? Certain experiments were done. There were certain equipment. To find out about the moon surface. So what was there on the moon surface? Then now we have a program called Chandrayaan 4. So Chandrayaan 4 is about bringing back the sample from surface of moon. So in Chandrayaan 3, we had certain success. We found out certain elements. So that was about Chandrayaan 3. And we have now, government has announced a mission called Chandrayaan 4. So Chandrayaan 4 is about bringing back the sample from the surface of moon. Just I will show you a slide. Chandrayaan 4 is about bringing back the sample from lunar surface. So Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2 partial success, then Chandrayaan 3. Then now we have the program called Chandrayaan 4 to bring back the sample from the moon surface back to Earth. Okay, so that is your program, Chandrayaan 4. So you will bring back the sample and you will study it on the Earth surface. Now moving on to the atomic energy program. Let us come to slightly on atomic energy. So you have different forms of atomic energy has two applications. One is for weapon program and other is for energy production. Atomic energy has two use. One is for weapon production, another is for energy purpose. So it is based on basically isotopes. You have isotopes of uranium being utilized. So isotopes have same atomic number but different atomic mass. Why? Because inside the nucleus, the number of neutron varies. So due to difference in number of neutron, you have three isotopes of hydrogen. Similarly, you have isotopes of uranium. You have isotopes of uranium like uranium 234, 235, 238, etc. And one more thing, in nuclear reactor, you can convert one element into other. So basically, lot of things are there in nuclear energy, but uranium, the uranium 235 undergoes fission. Not all natural isotope of uranium undergo fission. The uranium-235 isotope of uranium undergoes fission. So in nuclear power plant where energy is produced, low enriched uranium of 5 to 10% enrichment is used for production of power, for power production. Whereas highly enriched uranium are used in weapon. If it is more than 85% uranium-235, it is your used for weapon purpose. In a nuclear reactor, you have two things. This is like a pressure cooker structure. You have fuel rods and control rod, and you have coolant. It does heating. In nuclear reactor, we have this steel-like reactor. It has fuel rods and control rod. Fuel rod contains the uranium and other fuel, and control rod contains structure for absorbing neutrons. So you have different agency under Department of Atomic Energy. One is AMD, Atomic Mineral Directorate. Its work is survey and exploration of your strategic minerals like uranium and rare earth minerals. So they will do the survey. And once they have confirmed that okay, uranium is there, then mining is done by another company called Uranium Corporation of India Limited, UCIL. They have asked this question. The first functional mine of uranium was Jadugoda. Now you have good amount of uranium production even in Andhra Pradesh. Okay. Then you have some organization under Atomic Energy. One is Heavy Water Board, which produces heavy water, and there are two companies related to nuclear power production: NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, and Bhavini, Bharatiya Navki Vidyut Nigam Limited. Then if you go to research organization, we have BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. This is at Trombay, Mumbai. And then you have Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam. These are the two important research center for nuclear energy. These are the two important center for nuclear energy. So earlier, big reactors were being built. Nowadays, lot of focus is shifting on small modular reactors. Even in the budget this time, government is focusing on small modular reactors. Bharatiya small modular. Earlier, big reactors. Earlier, the focus was on big reactor. Now, the focus is also on smaller reactor. Just Homi Jahangir Bhabha was the father of Indian nuclear program. So he proposed a three-stage nuclear program. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, H.J. Bhabha was the father of Indian nuclear program. He suggested a three-stage nuclear program. So first stage consists of pressurized heavy water reactor and the associated fuel like uranium-235. So here the fuel is uranium-235 and your the coolant is heavy water. The name is pressurized heavy water reactor, PHWR, pressurized heavy water reactor. So here this is a diagram of a pressurized heavy water reactor. So basically here you have heavy water under high pressure. If you increase the pressure, what happens? The boiling point of a liquid increases. So this heavy water comes out. Here you generate steam, you rotate the turbine and produce electricity. So this was the first stage. Now for the first stage we get the fuel for second stage. How? Only 5 to 10% is uranium-235, rest is uranium-238 and thorium. So some of the neutron, when a uranium split neutron is released, it converts uranium-235 into plutonium. It converts uranium-238 into plutonium. So uranium-235 is breaking up. Each uranium-235, when it breaks up, releases 3 neutrons. So one of the neutron attracts uranium-238. It is converted into what? Plutonium. So in a nuclear reactor, uranium-238 is also converted into plutonium. At the same time, thorium is converted into uranium-233. So the first stage is this one. So from first stage, you get the fuel for second stage, that is plutonium. And then India has huge reserve of thorium. And that thorium would be converted into uranium-233. That is it. So the second stage is fast breeder reactor. Now India is commercially starting this fast breeder reactor. So this uses plutonium and uranium-238 as the fuel. Fast breeder reactor. So here the coolant is liquid sodium. So this is the reactor core. Here fission takes place, heat is produced. So basically the liquid sodium is heated. you keep on transferring it, and then finally you transfer the heat from liquid sodium to water, and the water is converted into steam, which rotates the turbine. So liquid sodium, you move it through the reactor core, and the third stage would be based on thorium uranium 233 cycle. So that was why, because India has nearly 20% of the global thorium reserve is present in India. So thorium will be converted into uranium 233 and that will be utilized. So now the third stage is in design phase. So Bhabha Atomic Research Center is working on a thorium based reactor called Advanced Heavy Water Reactor 300. So the research is being done. First stage fully operational, second stage becoming commercial, and third stage is in research phase. So beside see, one you have weapon production, the same plutonium. See, atom bombs can be made either of uranium 235 or plutonium. So another topic, that is of biotech. So biotech is basically use of living organism or its system for human welfare. So biotechnology is basically use of living organism or its system for human welfare. So we started with biology, then we discovered many tools. For example, we came to know about chromosome, then we came to know about the structure of DNA in basic science. In the beginning lecture you will find, then how the body functions, DNA to RNA and other different type of structures we found out. So slowly things moved ahead. So basically biotechnology is using either living organism or its enzyme or its system for human welfare. Okay, there. So biotechnology is use of either living organism or its enzyme for or its component for human process or its component for human process. So when you think about biotechnology, it is not only just your DNA and other. It's very basic use of biotechnology. I will just show you is about these things which have used traditionally. Making of curd from milk is also a traditional use of biotechnology. So biotechnology can have traditional use and biotechnology can have modern emerging use of the use of enzymes. Now, before coming into that, few questions are there. I will focus. So one aspect of biotechnology is genetic engineering. One aspect of biotechnology is genetic engineering. So genetic engineering is done with the help of certain enzyme. What an engineer does, he creates new combination. Similarly, a genetic engineer creates new combination of DNA using certain enzymes. A new combination of DNA using certain enzyme. Here the enzyme that is used is an enzyme called restriction endonuclease. This point brief for your exam, restriction endonuclease. This is also called molecular scissors. UPSC has asked it multiple times. It cuts DNA at specific point. Molecular scissors. It cuts DNA at specific points. So one enzyme is for cutting the DNA. Another enzyme is for joining the DNA. So second enzyme is DNA ligase. Using these two enzymes, you can create new combinations of DNA. You have cut DNA from one place, you attach it to somewhere else. For example, you take what humans have done. Humans have taken out insulin gene from the cell and they have put insulin gene into the circular DNA of bacteria called plasmid. Then they have created this new combination. Now this plasmid goes inside the bacteria and the bacteria is making a human insulin. So that is there. Then if you grow these thing in, so one is genetic engineering, second out industrial scale, you will grow these microbes in this and then you get the product, biological product. Then another enzyme that is in lot of news and that has been asked in many of the exams is CRISPR-Cas. So CRISPR-Cas is a very accurate genetic engineering tool. This is also example of molecular scissor, you have to remember. So it can, using a single enzyme called CRISPR-Cas, you can make changes in the DNA. You can edit DNA, you can add extra DNA, you can cut a portion of DNA. This is called CRISPR-Cas, clustered regularly interspace short palindromic repeat. So the CRISPR-Cas is one of the wonder molecule. For that even Nobel Prize has been given in this in the last 3 to 4 years, 22 or 23 Nobel Prizes for CRISPR-Cas. So you can make lot of gene editing using these structure, CRISPR-Cas structure. So biotechnology has different application. Agriculture, one of the most commonly asked question has been BT cotton. That is pest resistant cotton variety. BT cotton, BT brinjal, BT maize. So BT gene has been transferred from bacteria into crop plant. So genetic engineering that you have done using enzyme help you to transfer genes or DNA from say bacteria to crop plant, that is there. Okay. So lot of application in agriculture is there. New varieties of crop that could be genetically modified, or even traditional uses are there. Okay. So you have application of biotech in different field, right from agriculture, medicine, environment management, etc. So now you have the ability to transfer gene from one species to another. You have the ability to transfer gene from one species to other. So one is the traditional biotechnology, other is this is also biotech. Food biotechnology is also biotech. You are producing curd in home, that is also biotech, and also your BT cotton is also biotech. You have lot of issues like regarding regulation. We have issues regarding how the GM genetic product can be regulated. Just few points on this. Genetically modified organisms, how they are regulated. We talked about enzymes. Enzymes can change the DNA. So now the crops with the changed DNA product, how they are regulated in India. The point is legal point, how they are regulated in India. So in India, the regulation of GM crop is through Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, and this is under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. This you have to remember. This is not under Ministry of Health. The GAC, Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, comes under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And this body called GAC derives its power from an act called Environment Protection Act 1986. So GAC, Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, gives the recommendation. Based on the recommendation, the final decision is taken by Cabinet Minister, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So remember this one. Okay. So there can be traditional breeding crops, there can be genetically modified crops. For lot of genetically modified crops are there also in the market, so you have controversy and all those aspects are there. In the recent times, at present a controversy is going on regarding, let us see what finally happens. DMH 11, Dhara mustard hybrid 11, DMH 11, Dhara mustard hybrid 11, this is there in news. So this is a genetically modified mustard variety, DMH 11, Dhara mustard hybrid 11 variety. So this matter has gone to Supreme Court. So two judge bench, one said okay, other said no. So now again it is going into higher bench. So remember, the genetically modified crop which is allowed is BT cotton in India, not BT brinjal. Okay. US grows lot of GM crops. In India, that is restricted. And legally, we discussed that. The legal aspect we discussed that, you have to remember, is in India, the GM crops are regulated by this act called Environment Protection Act 1986. Under this, a body is set up called GAC, Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, and this is under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay. There is another very interesting emerging area called nanotechnology. Nano means 10 to power minus 9. So you are going at very small scale. Nano is 10 to power minus 9 and angstrom is 10 to power minus 10. So nowadays we are able to visualize things at very small scale. We are able to manipulate it. There was a very famous physics professor called Richard Feynman. Long back in the 60s, he predicted that in future you will be able to make things at very small scale, and he called that at he got Nobel Prize for quantum electrodynamics. So he popularized the concept, his lecture popularized the concept of nanotechnology. One of the classical case of nanotech that you and we use in our day-to-day life. Just now in biotech, I discussed about enzymes like called CRISPR-Cas. So what CRISPR-Cas is? CRISPR-Cas is also cutting DNA. The width of DNA is 20 nanometer. That is also nanotechnology. So one is biotech, but that is also nanotechnology because you are cutting at very small scale, 20 angstrom is still less than or 2 nanometer. So one interesting case is Moore's law. Under Moore's law, the number of transistors on a semiconductor have increased exponentially. So now your chip that is there in your computer has lines or patterns which are as small as 1 nanometer. So these lines are drawn on a silicon wafer. You are drawing this line on a ASML gives the world leading chip maker the power to mass produce pattern on silicon. So your entire computer system and this transmission system is based on your chips, and chips are produced by these equipments. So using laser and other thing, a very distinct pattern is produced on the silicon. Okay, using these equipment, we produce the pattern on silicon chips. The world relies on ASML for machines that print the chips. Even Nikon or Canon, we have seen Canon, Nikon camera, but they produce lot of equipment which produces the pattern on a semiconductor chips. So that is important. Now in the case of India, we are importing lot of chips. India imports lot of semiconductor chips. So nanotechnology has application across multiple domain, right from biology to healthcare to other aspect. Okay. So nanotechnology has lot of application, and that is why India at present imports lot of these chips. India at present imports lot of these chips, and that is why India has started a mission called India Semiconductor Mission, so that our dependence on chip import is reduced. So they are just like the new oil. Taiwan, the strength of Taiwan is about its production capacity of semiconductor. So India is encouraging the companies to go for production of semiconductor in India. Government is giving huge subsidy and all encouragement for manufacturing these things. Government is even tying up with foreign countries, and based on that, we are trying to encourage the production of chips in India. Some of the chips plant, the American company Micron has set up a chip plant in your Gujarat, Sanand. Now, government is also giving subsidy to Tata and other companies to set up their chip manufacturing plant in India. Take a look over here. Tata. So not only Tata's but other companies also. One is Micron and other companies. We are encouraging to them to set up their chip manufacturing plant in India. Just take a look at the pattern which is there on your silicon chip. This is the chip of the this one, your Apple M1 Pro. Pattern of IC or transistor created on a silicon chip, that is there. Just take a look over here. So in case of the Apple M1 Pro, it had 33.7 billion transistor on a single chip, M1 Pro. And in case of M2 Pro, it has 134 billion transistor. So we are already at the nanoscale, and that is how in fact your Apple phone is now more powerful than the computer that was used by NASA when it was launching its Apollo mission. And we discussed about this art of producing the image on the silicon chip is called lithography. I just in the previous slide showed you a company ASML, Canon. These are very important. They provide the equipment for producing the pattern on silicon chip, and that is why they becomes important. So this is one of the area where there is intense competition between the Chinese and the Americans. Americans and European have edge over the others. Why? All your AI computation is based on what? It is based on your chip. If you have a chip with higher capacity, you are ahead. If you are lagging in the capacity of chip, you will be at back end. And that is why US has come out with certain restriction so that the Chinese do not get ahead. But the Chinese are also trying their own end. Just take a look over here. I am coming to a slide. US has come out with an act called Chips and Science Act. This is providing huge amount of subsidy to the American companies. Just read this paragraph. AI, this chip has used in quantum computing, clean energy, nanotechnology, all those biotech every year. So more than $300 billion are being provided by the American government to, to the companies who are investing in this area. So US was one of the leader. Now it is trying to make a comeback. So but this act prohibits company from setting up plant in China. If you are getting fund from here, you will not set up plant in China. Now this is the act. Just take the CHIPS Act, the Chips and Science Act. So just like Americans, we are also trying to move ahead. So Americans are even giving money to foreign companies which are setting up chip plant in US. For example, TSMC is a Taiwan company. Samsung is a Korean company. So they are giving subsidy over there also. So come and do manufacturing over India there. Now India has signed a pact with America for semiconductor supply chain. India has also signed your agreement with Japan for this area. Just take a look at it. You have certain American company which are coming in India. One is Lam Research for training of Indians in the area of chip and nanotech area. Applied Material, another American company. Micron is setting up the first its plant, chip manufacturing plant in India. It has got subsidy. Now government is providing, I just in the previous slide told you that India semiconductor mission. Government is providing this production link incentive for companies. You come over here, government will give you subsidy in different format, cheaper land and all those facilities. So India was lot behind. Now things are moving. So many of the foreign companies as well as Indian companies are coming into the picture. Just take a look at. We signed agreement with the US for supply of semiconductor. Now we have agreement with the Japanese. Now let us come into information technology, into the area of information technology. Let us pick up few interesting topics on information technology. Okay. Now there is a lot of discussion regarding a thing called artificial intelligence, AI. We have now AI generated images. We have AI modified photos. So you can do even create music and lot of things. So basically, what is artificial intelligence? So let us go into some of the artificial intelligence and their impact. AI means that the computing system has the ability of doing some of the tasks that is done by human brain or human intelligence. So some of the characteristic of human intelligence are observation, reasoning, decision making, manipulation, learning from behavior and pattern, etc., performing tasks. So if your system is able to do either some or all of these tasks, that system has the capacity of what? Artificial intelligence. So some of these are characteristic of human intelligence, and if your AI system or if your computer system is able to do some of it, it can have all the characteristic of human intelligence or some of the characteristics of human intelligence. So you have different type of AI systems. Machine learning, where computer can learn without your programming. Autonomous system, autonomous vehicles are there. You just give the data, it will move over there. Even autonomous drones. Natural language processing. You give direction to your phone, on your phone, petrol pump nearby. It will automatically open up the Google Path, and it will show you the direction how to move in. Okay. Robotics, you can have AI powered robot, and now you are into the world of artificial creativity, creating music, creating images, creating GIF, etc. So that is about AI, artificial intelligence. So we have different products: Google Brain, Adam, Massey, Siri. Siri is there in your Apple. Google Assistant is there. Now many of the new images, for example, you have that. Now you can make your own notes using different AI system coming into the picture. Multiple application: driverless car, management of traffic, processing of data. You can analyze huge volume of data. AI system can give you idea about where to make money, where to do investment. You have multiple AI apps. You just write. If you have to find, say, cell biology class 9, you give to into the regenerative AI. It creates notes for you. It can create letter for you. So now we have moved ahead. So some things are good. So what are the threats of AI? So these are merits. Demerit is job loss. Remember, all these automation technology, one of the demerit is job loss. Why AI or automation is coming? Changing demography. In Western country, the aging population is more there, so automation will be there. That is why we have the context of jobless growth. So automation and other thing are very good thing, but one of the aspect that is affecting here is jobless growth. So AI is good. That is why you have, see, you cannot lag behind. So that is there. Now you have robotic systems, the car moving by itself. Even in China and other, this Sophia came into lot of news. This was a robot which used to give interview in China. Now in many of the country you have news reader which are not actually a male or female but a robot who is reading the news. So that is the AI about. Generative AI, creating notes, creating articles and other thing for you. Now in the recent times there has been certain discussion about a thing called quantum computers. There has been discussion about a thing called quantum computers. Quantum computers. So normal traditional computer are working on bits, whereas quantum computers are working on qubits. Bits can be in two form, 0 or 1, whereas qubits can have multiple forms. So qubits or quantum bits, they can exist in, they have the stage of superposition. So bits would be either 0 or 1, whereas a qubit can be both 0, both 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, large. So qubits are using subatomic particles. Basically, we are using the nanoparticles or the quantum particles, and using them, we are creating multiple combination. So bit is either 0 or 1, whereas in case of qubit, multiple parameters can be there. So multiple parameters can be there. So this quantum computer uses qubit, and qubit has certain principle. We will not go into detail. The quantum particles can be entangled with each other. So this is one property associated with your quantum computer: entanglement. Superposition. Superposition means the qubit can have multiple stages. Superposition represent a combination of all possible configuration, whereas in case of bits it is 0, 1. Here multiple stages can be there. So that is why quantum computer can calculate large number of calculations. Then one property is your of your quantum computing is constructive and destructive interference. So based on these principles, now why this was in news? Because the Google came out with a processor called Sycamore based on qubit system. Then other companies like IBM and other, they also have come out with their own. So now this quantum computer is into picture. They can do calculation much faster than the others, and that is why even government of India has started a program called National Quantum Mission, so that India does not lag behind. You cannot lag behind, otherwise the others will be ahead of you in technology. So they are both plus and minus aspect of technology. So what supercomputers can do in say 2 days, it can perform the same task within say half an hour or 20 minutes or one hour. So theoretically your calculation power, your AI and all your things will increase a lot. Take in DRDO TIFR test 6-qubit quantum processor. So the Google and other have done, and now we have also done it. There's an emerging area in data storage that is called blockchain technology. Blockchain technology. You all are familiar with a very interesting kind of currency called cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an example of cryptocurrency. So this Bitcoin is based on a technology called blockchain technology. This Bitcoin is based on a technology called blockchain. So basically, blockchain is a data storage technology. It can have multiple applications. Blockchain is what? Blockchain is an example of data storage technology. Blockchain is a chain of block. This block contains digital information. It can be date, time, financial transaction, who is doing, at what time, who gave permission, etc. So basically, blockchain is a record keeping technology. It is what? A record keeping technology. And this is a distributed decentralized public ledger. Distributed decentralized public ledger. So generally we confuse that blockchain technology is only about cryptocurrency, that is Bitcoin and other such digital currency. No, it is a record keeping technology which has multiple application in different department and different area. So it is a distributed decentralized ledger. So here the transactions are recorded on multiple system. In case of your traditional system, it is centralized banking and other, all the data go to a centralized server, whereas in a decentralized one, the data goes to multiple servers. So how a Bitcoin system work? So say these are the multiple systems which are involved in the transaction. So an individual asks for a transaction. This information is related to all the computing in the systems. Now these are called nodes, they approve. So once this is approved, this becomes a new transaction. And this new piece of transaction, only this new piece of block of information is added to the already existing. So these are the old one, the gray one, and the new one is added. So this is example of your blockchain. Blockchain is what? Chain of block. And these blocks contain what? Data. So here it is distributed, it is decentralized. It is distributed, it is decentralized. So these are some of the aspect. It is distributed, decentralized. So the data is stored over multiple computer. So in case of a centralized one, you can change the data in one, but you cannot change the data in all of them. And that is why this becomes very important in the coming year. It is trusted, smart contract, distributed, you cannot change it. For example, Niti Aayog, our main planning body, has also come out with blockchain India strategy. So Niti Aayog has suggested that blockchain technology should be used for land record management, educational keeping of educational certificate, immunization, chit fund. Different area of government uses are there in blockchain. It is already being used in certain government on your, say you can say, district level or other, uh, on a smaller scale. So once the technology becomes foolproof, or once they develop a standardized protocol, it can be spread across multiple areas. So these are some of the areas where already blockchain is being used for government purpose. So we primarily remember Bitcoin. So this Bitcoin was developed by a Japanese fellow called Satoshi Nakamura, and total 21 million Bitcoin can be produced. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency based on blockchain technology. We have to remember that blockchain is what? Is a chain of block, and blockchain technology can have application in multiple area. It is not only limited to cryptocurrency. So basic concept of these cryptocurrencies is blockchain technology. You all remember during the period of COVID, work from home becomes possible. Why? Or you are using Android system. In Android system, the data is not stored in your computer. The data is stored in the cloud of Google. So there is a type of computing called cloud computing. Basically, it is a state data storage system, or you are getting computer services over a network. So cloud computing is dynamic provisioning of IT service like hardware, software, or services from a third party. So not everything is in your computer. You have not stored it. You have stored it somewhere else. Very common example is Google Drive. You pay 1300 for 100 GB of data. So you may be anywhere. You can access your data using the Google Drive system. You just log in. So this is example of you can get different type of services over a network. Some of the type are infrastructure as a service. You can outsource equipment, memory, server. So most of the small organization do not have their server of their own. They outsource it. Platform, you can use a platform online. Software, rather than downloading and putting in your system, you can use a software one time or two time or multiple time, make it payment. You can test it. Your data can be recovered. Even in case of government, you have the cloud computing system. Government of India and state government cloud is Meghraj. That is the government of India cloud. Nowadays, if the server is not working, the work is not done in the government. Here you have national cloud where the national central government data goes, state cloud and apps are there. So what are the advantages? Nowadays, it allows you to reduce. There is no need of updation. Whatever you need, you can use it online. Company can focus on a core area, outsource some of the work, reduce cost of capital, service accessed anytime. Wherever you want the service, you get your service. Okay. One of the classical example is your e-books and others. You are on a travel, you read your e-books. So how? That e-book is placed somewhere in the cloud, either Google Cloud or Amazon Cloud. All your these movie streaming platform, they are example of what? Cloud computing. You make a payment, you get access to that. So in fact, many of the offices have moved their data into cloud. So cloud has lot of benefits. You can work from anywhere. Elasticity. The data, you can have the data in your mobile, you can have the data in your laptop or somewhere else. So things can be spread over. You can work from multiple locations. There is no need that you should always be there where your server is there or where your database is there. So if you have safety, so there are certain threats, data integrity, privacy, etc. But cloud computing has moved on a lot. Many of the organizations now extensively use these cloud computing systems. Whether you are doing railway booking or other, it is based on cloud. It is based on cloud. So there is a thing called optical fibers. All your IT technology is based on one of the most important component is optical fiber. So optical fibers are made up of glass. There are two layers of glass. The inner one is denser, the outer one is rarer. This one is denser and the inner one is called core and outer one is called cladding. Due to difference in this density, total internal reflection takes place and the data moves on. So these optical fiber bundles are there. Optical fiber use started mainly in medical science. Now most of your data start moving in this. So you had used in medical science, this is fiber scope or laparoscope. You can see the internal portion of the body in surgery and other. Then in night vision devices, fiber optic plates are also used using optical fiber. Data transmission. One of the most common use of these optical fiber these days is your data transmission. Satellite, if you are getting signal, if you want service from say your Elon Musk company, that is Starlink, it is costly. The cheapest and one of the most suitable is your data transmission using optical fiber. So basically you convert data into electrical signal into light signal, light goes on, light is received, light is converted into electrical signal back into data. That is how the things work. And now you have these optical fiber networks spread across the world. These are the optical fiber network. That is how data moves across continent. Satellites are costly. Now you have lot of cyber crime. I am going into not every of them, but the main agency in India which is related to cyber safety and cyber crime is Indian Computer Emergency Response Team or CERT. So So this was set up. This is the National Nodal Agency under Section 70B of IT Act 2000. So this has to respond in case of a cyber crime. So certain duties have been allocated to this agency called CERTIN. Collection, analysis and dissemination of information on cyber security. How many data, how many cyber incidents took place, forecast and alert, emergency measures, coordination of cyber security response, how to coordinate with others. Just I will show you a slide. This is the main agency CERTIN. CERTIN coordinate with media. CERTIN also coordinate with law enforcement agency because FIR has to be filed with the police. CERTIN gives you idea at the home user what to do and what not to do. CERTIN coordinate with the internet service provider how to make them safe. CERTIN coordinate with vendors. CERTIN coordinate with critical sector organization. For example, banking, disaster recovery. So critical sector organization. Critical sector organization include banking, uh, your banking system, railway system, aircraft system. Their database should be safe. So that is why it becomes important. So CERTIN is the main agency for that. For individual, it provides. If you go to their website, there is a thing called Cyber Swachhata Kendra. You can download free software for your mobile and for your laptop, and that is how they try to prevent the incidents even for individual. So CERTIN, right from government up to a end user, it is there. And if say the police is not able to hack the mobile it has recovered in case of crime, that mobile or computer will go to cyber forensic investigation facility at CERTIN. So all the data of any cyber incident happening anywhere in India will finally go to this. And they also conduct a thing called National Cyber Security Mock Drill. Just like the mock drill for earthquake, they also do mock drill for your cyber crime. Say the banking or the police network has been shut down, what to do, what not to do. So they do audit of all the organization, especially government and important critical sector organization. Say AIMS, you have thousands of patients. If the database is hacked, what to do? So remember, this is an important organization called CERTIN. So this is one of the national nodal agency under the IT Act for cyber security incident. And this diagram represents. It also coordinates with foreign government, foreign certs. So in the era of cyber world, all the government have their own such agencies to deal with cyber crime.